Welcome.
Oh, to the Color and Life podcast.
It's like a thing now.
I was waiting for something to happen. I didn't realize it was my line yet.
It's like a thing now.
It's not my fault.
Okay. Welcome.
To the Color and Life podcast.
Or welcome back, whichever matches the experience you have with us.
This is episode 26, part 2.
Yes.
The second.
I am Jennifer.
I'm John Michael.
We can be found all of these places that you now see on the screen.
Including Ravelry and Instagram and... yeah.
Ravelry, Instagram, the website,
www.colorandlifepodcast.com.
I'm Junip on Ravelry, Genuine Knits, most other places. Color and Life Podcast has a Instagram account, colourandlifepodcast.com. Not .com, it's at Color and Life Podcast.
Been a long day.
You can be found as
Sandboxer7 on Ravelry and nowhere else.
And he will start paying attention to his Ravelry. Yeah, he will. You will.
Yes, Mother.
Okay.
Target date it'll be uploaded May 16th.
Yes.
Tuesday, May 16th.
Yes. Water.
Coming soon to a Tuesday near... Anyway,
Water.
all the along...
root
beer. Yeah, Barks root beer.
And what do we have for our viewers?
All the alongs.
Yep.
Maker of the Month, a disjointed conversation.
Oh, yes. And I have my cupcake earrings.
And questions from viewers.
And we have a conversation.
Well, questions from viewer, pretty much.
We have a conversation.
I said that.
Oh, did you? I missed that. And I need to make sure I tell you about this. This is something I made. And I'm wearing it for the... I made sure that I wore something that I had made on the podcast this time. For...
Don't you always?
No, not always. Me... What is it?
Made for me?
Made for me May.
Ah.
Made for me May. So... Or hand by... I don't know where I'm it. But it's, the basic idea is you wear stuff that you made in May. So there you go. So I did. I forgot to mention it last time.
Ah.
Alright, this is a scarf. This is on my Ravelry page.
You'll have to finish up your sweater so that you can wear that next time.
Ooh, yeah.
If it's not too warm.
It's getting closer. Wait.
Sorry.
So, it's on my Ravelry page.
Yep.
And
on with the show.
On with the show.
It's time for the Color and Life Double Dog Dare Knit Along.
Yes, it is. And we have a little over a month left for everybody to get their dares done.
Yep.
We had an update on mine last time where everything's at. I will make this dare. I will finish or frog enough to get it under 12 of my previously existing whips.
Whether or not
UFOs.
I will...
UFOs. Area 51 will be downsized.
Whether or not I will finish my scarf is still yet to be determined.
Yes, it is. But we are still interested in coming up with new cals and new ideas for things to do next.
Yeah.
Because we haven't firmed those up.
Yep.
And we have a really short all the alongs. Oh, you have to come up with our acronym for alongs.
Oh.
Because we have make alongs and knit alongs and all of those, and now we're kind of going all the alongs.
I see. And I need an acronym to
do alongs somehow.
Let's see.
Because geeky girls are calling them owls, which is kind of cool. Like Al from Quantum Leap. He was awesome.
That's not a show that I've actually seen very much of.
Anyway.
I think I might have seen like 1 or 2 episodes.
But you remember Al, the hologram?
No.
That helps him out?
No.
Anyway.
I think I'm thinking of a different show.
Probably are.
I'm thinking of the one where they're like, they figured out how to go to alternate dimensions. And so like, they keep jumping between alternate dimensions, and every episode is a different alternate dimension that they've jumped into.
sort of, this is
And they have to like
parts
make
and
it to the
times, and they have to
portal
fix it.
They have to make
He
it
has
to the
to fix
portal to
it.
jump to the.
He has to fix time in order for it to be able to go into the next
Oh.
time, and he's trying to jump home.
Yeah, they're trying to get back to their dimension.
No, he's just going places in time.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so digression. Sorry about that. That's our alongs
Yes. Maker of the
right
month.
now. Maker of the month is next. Maker of the month is Ann Tudor,
Yes.
and we love Ann Tudor. Do I need to go get something else from Ann Tudor?
Probably. You could wear sheep earrings
I could wear sheep earrings.
in multiple colors.
Mm-hmm. We could have different colors. Okay.
I'm waiting.
No, I'm not gonna put them on.
Are you sure?
Yes, because I have cupcakes for my birthday month.
But you wore cupcakes last episode.
So
These are little sheepies that
they're all
you can't
different
quite
colored
see.
sheepies. And I have the ones that are white with just the colored faces too. That the faces are all different colors. And these are fish. She has all different kinds of stuff. Because she does this amazing lamp work. And I'm wearing cupcakes for my birthday month. I took her stitch markers, and you can get this. Oh, you can hold these up again so they can see the clasp. One of the clasp options she's got is the crochet stitch markers, and those clasps you could also wear as earrings. So I've converted these to earrings.
How do these work?
I think my bees are earrings too.
Oh, like that.
Yeah, I think my bees can be earrings too, and so can the clouds. I should wear my clouds today because it's all stormy and thundery.
Calm down.
I love Ann Tudor stuff. Anyway, so these aren't really earrings. These are stitch markers, but hey, whatever works. And there's there's a yellow fish that comes in this set that I'm using on something else. I'm not sure where it is at the moment. So that's Ann Tudor, and her website is anntudor.com. I think we forgot to say that last time, but it would have been on the screen. So it's anntudor.com, and she's giving us a coupon code.
Color 15.
Color 15, yep. And that's our Maker of the Month. Go visit her stuff. She's got some amazing things. Really, really cool things.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to converse.
Yes, it's time for the conversation segment. And 1 second, let me check where I am in my thing.
So last time we
Okay.
spoke about hoarding,
Yes, we did.
and there was lots of conversation about that. That was a very popular topic. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, we
Even
got
though
lots
you
of
wanted to talk about something else.
we got lots of response in the YouTube and the thread for the episode, the episode thread.
And mostly the general conclusion from the general consensus is that you and I are not hoarders.
Woohoo!
So,
I always wanted to not be a hoarder.
but there were people that added a yet.
Yet. Oh, okay. That yet, not yet. It's quite ominous.
So that was fun, hearing what you guys had to say and talking about that.
Yes. In fact, I think we actually have a question from our viewers this time.
We do. We have 2 questions.
Oh, 2 questions. Even better.
So,
But this time we're going to talk about something that I wanted to talk about last time, but you wouldn't let me.
nope, we needed to talk about hoarding.
That's debatable. But this time we're
I
going to
learned
talk
something
about...
really interesting and really good.
Well, yes, that is true.
There's something that was really...
Yes,
it was a good thing
wow,
we had that
true.
conversation. It was a really good thing we had that conversation.
So this time we're going to talk about how being a designer and designing has influenced your position
My position.
with your projects.
My
Like,
relationship with my
yes,
projects?
your relationship. That's a better word for it. I was kind of going for your position in relationship, in relation to your projects, which seems a little bit redundant.
Yeah, because I frogged a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and that's weird for you. Like, you don't do that.
Not usually.
So, what's up?
Because I chose those projects because I wanted to finish them. I mean, I wanted the project, and I still do want those projects. But I can't, what I found is, I can't hold the space for that particular project at this particular time to have time and energy and knitting stuff spent on it while I'm trying to design. And as I'm talking about this right now, I'm realizing that all of those projects, that many projects, I'm so glad that we're doing this, Dare, because that many projects just kind of sitting, waiting, niggling at me that, oh, I have this that still needs to be done, and oh, I have this still needs to be done, in a way was kind of interfering with my ability to be creative in new directions.
And once you started being creative in new directions, you had to kind of let that go.
Yeah, and all of the things that I have frogged are still sitting with their needles and with the yarn for now, because I may end up saying, no, I really want this, and I'm going to cast it on again, and I'm going to do it.
Especially that Eiffel Gold shawl.
Yes, Eiffel Gold will get a turn. But, like, I figured out my fade.
Your fade?
I found my fade.
You're going to do a lemming shawl?
I am going to do a lemming shawl. And she even dyed me the right yarn.
Who nicknamed it that?
You did.
I did?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
On one of our podcasts.
Well,
so,
I wouldn't put it past me.
Here's my fade.
You'll notice it's all Wicked You.
It is all Wicked You.
Was she our first
What
Fiber
happened?
Artist of the month?
Yes, she was.
Cool.
So what happened was,
She bought too much Wicked You, and then it all fell into
had-
place. So,
Okay,
if
hang
you
on
need
one
to
second.
find a fade,
yeah.
if you need to find a fade, just buy a whole bunch of one dyer, and then it'll all fall into place.
Yeah,
is what
it's
we've
like-
learned.
I actually probably have all of the colors that somebody found for a fade out of Liz's yarn. So these are getting totally blown out right now. I mean, like, so blown out you can't even see them.
Oh yeah, you really can't see the individual colors.
But these are the yarns right
Do you
here.
have it on Instagram? You put it on your Instagram, right?
Did I put? I did.
I
It
remember
is
you
on my
taking
Instagram.
pictures. So yeah, you can
So
see
this
better
is-
pictures of these
Yeah.
colors on our Instagram.
So this is what I got and came. And I went, it's a fade. But it was missing a skein right here. And I found one of Liz's yarns, the Feelin' Froggy. And I put it in right here, and I'm like, that's the right colors, but it's the wrong dyeing style.
Oh. Feeling froggy.
It's just not the right style.
Yes.
But it's the right colors.
But guess what?
So I messaged...
Mandy is awesome.
I messaged Mandy and said, Mandy, I have to have a colorway. And so this is Dandelion. So that it goes right in here. And it makes the fade.
This one goes over here, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
And it makes my fade. So I'm actually going to do a fade.
There's something else.
Okay, I'm going to put this away later. I'm going to put that away later. Whoops.
Ah!
Or should I just put it away now? I might as well put it away now.
Okay. You've got a thing in one of those skeins.
Yeah, it's got a stitch marker in it. It's got a couple of them have stitch markers on.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't got swing.
So my fade, whoops, oh that's horrible colors. I'm not gonna leave that in till we're done. Are colors better yet?
I don't know. I mean, all I can see is your hair. So,
Look at the screen.
you have quite a
dork.
lot of it. No, I mean, all I can see of you is your hair.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So over my shoulder here, right here is my fade. So where were we before we had that little digression?
I don't know. You just like picked up and ran.
I
You were
know.
like, "Hey, I have a fade."
Oh, knitting changes and my projects.
Oh, yeah.
That have changed.
Okay.
So yes, the Eiffel Gold is going to be finished. It's going to be picked up and started again. And I'm going to do a fade now. I didn't know I was going to do a fade. I didn't think I was going to do a fade.
And then all of a sudden, there was a fade.
Right. And at We Knit Colorado, I also found a fade out of MJ yarns.
You do not get to knit too.
Yes.
You do not get to knit too.
She has a sweater.
A fade sweater?
Yes. It's called So Faded. So I may be knitting a fade sweater. A So Faded. We'll see. But who knows? In between now and then, there may be a sparkly come along.
Can you believe her? I can't.
But the point was, coming back full circle to what we're talking about.
Yes.
So I'm going to possibly do something with some minis and design some other things with partial skeins and bits of skeins. And the point is that in order to make space for some of that to happen
In your brain,
in my brain,
you had to let some of the projects go.
I had to let some of the previously decided on projects that seemed like good projects at the time, they had to have permission not to necessarily be.
I'm totally going to claim partial responsibility for freeing up your brain like that.
Yes, you should. Because he was the one who mostly came up with that dare.
No, you came up with it. I just was really adamant about it.
That it had to get done.
I'm gonna totally. I'm actually even gonna say that I knew that was how it was gonna turn out all along. I totally planned that. It was.
You're gonna.
Yep.
Hijack that and
Yep.
say that's what was true, even
That
though
was
it
my
wasn't.
plan all along. Was to free up your brain space from.
That wasn't your plan
commitments.
all along.
No, it definitely was to free up
No,
your
it
brain
wasn't.
space from commitments to different projects. I think that's totally
You're
what I was
just
doing.
making that up backwards.
I don't. What would I do that?
So, anyway, we have. I'm lost. So yeah, I needed the projects gone so that there was space in my brain for creative designing.
Yep. And in that, your creativity has changed a little bit.
How so?
Well, it's like... I'm working on a real good metaphor here. It's like you
Don't
went...
kill the hamster.
What?
I was starting to see smoke.
It's like you've gone from builder to architect.
Explain.
Oh, come on, that's pretty self-explanatory.
No.
You've gone from builder to architect?
Oh, you mean just like someone who just
gone
does
from
stuff.
builder to architect.
But you said my creativity has changed.
Right, that's the change
How
in your
was I-
creativity.
But how was I being creative as a builder?
Right, so a builder is the guy on the ground. And you've seen this with Pop. When he's building, he makes just... I would say that a lot of builders make a lot of decisions, and you know, it's kind of thought of as, oh, well, they're just following the instructions, but no, there are so many decisions and little things that go into being a good builder as opposed to being a good architect, and you now have been both.
I understand the building
'Cause, like,
process well enough
as you're
to
a
be an
builder,
architect.
But I mean, I think all architects should be builders at some point, but that's beside the point. You, as a builder, you were saying, oh, okay, so it works better when I take the instructions and interpret them this way.
Okay. it seems like there should be more there, eh?
Well, yeah. But I kind of ran out of words in my head.
What goes there?
But as an architect, a builder starts with something and turns it into something else. An architect starts with nothing and turns it into something.
So you're saying I mostly had patterns and then turned them in. But you kind of started as an architect first. And then decided to be a builder.
I always was.
Right?
No, think about it. I've always been an architect. In fact, the building is one of the least enjoyable parts for me.
But you have to build it to know if it works. To know if your design works.
Yeah. So there's the designing, and there's the finished product, and everything in between is just kind of noise to me. Usually. Not always. Not always. But
you're really getting into this scarf, though.
Well, I mean, that's partly because, I kind of made a commitment that I need to follow up on.
If you didn't have that commitment, would you be finishing this scarf?
I honestly have no idea. But I will say this. I think this scarf will have taught me how to be a builder. Well. If that makes sense.
No.
Okay, moving on.
Try again.
1 second, I have to figure out where I am. Okay.
Try again.
So, it's like... So, I usually... My brain usually goes too fast to actually...
No kidding.
To actually stay in one place long enough.
I have to say something right now.
Okay.
Sometimes I might seem like I don't keep up with him or like he's ahead in some of these conversations or he's doing this. That's just because he's the last one. And they were all really smart. I had to be smarter than all of them put together and have to go faster and stay one step ahead. In some days and in a lot of ways, I'm tired. My brain's done. And at some points, that's the way it is. So I'm just like, okay, I sit back and relax while he goes, and I'm like, there's a part of me that's just monitoring and going, yeah, that's okay. Whoa, wait. Wake up and stay ahead now. Anyway. Sometimes we call it, it manifests differently. In some ways we call it my spidey sense. That's our euphemism for how I pay attention.
It's a subconscious thing.
And I'm like, my spidey sense is going nuts. Do I need to drill down? Or
I actually have a theory about the subconscious, and it's that everything that the brain does enough eventually gets converted into the subconscious. And so there are some people who, and I actually know one of them. It's a rare condition where... Yes, actually, it's related to fiber arts.
All right, I want to see how this relates to fiber arts. Go.
They don't have a mind's eye. They can't see things in their head.
Explain.
It's really fascinating. And I've been privileged to know one of the people affected with this who they can't visualize things. And as we've talked about it and tried to, I've tried to help him, he's gotten to the point where he can feel it. He can feel kind of the shape of it, but he can't picture it, which is really fascinating.
For example, give an example.
So, when he was describing it to me, when you solve like a trig problem,
No. Use a yarn problem.
okay,
Use a yarn example.
he wouldn't be able to look at a colorway and imagine that colorway on a project at all. Just incapable of it.
Huh.
But what's really interesting is I think through talking to him and discussing his experience, I think his subconscious is doing the visualization.
It's starting to, you mean?
No, I think it always has been.
Huh.
His conscious mind doesn't do it because his subconscious does it for him.
I don't understand what you're... I don't understand that.
So
I don't understand that, and I
it's
don't
like
understand
how
how it
you're-
relates.
your conscious doesn't keep track of us anymore because your subconscious does it for you.
Oh. Okay, so back to yarn and design and knitting
Anyway.
changes. Okay. Go.
Hey, you went there.
What's next?
So, what were we talking about?
Yeah, see, that's the point. You said it related.
Hey, I said that it was
Related.
tangential.
No, you didn't.
Tangentially related.
No, you didn't. Okay. I don't
Anyway.
know where we were with
So
design and creating stuff.
you went off on a tangent first. Okay.
I
never
was
mind.
talking about children. I said we need to pause here for a moment so I can talk about how I have to keep track of stuff.
Right, and I was saying my brain goes too fast.
Yes, your brain goes too fast. And and guess what, guys? Even though it may not appear, I go faster than him.
So,
Okay.
my brain goes too fast a lot of the time, and I end up outpacing my body. So I don't get around to
Making all the things.
making all of the things that I can think of
That is
because my
life.
brain moves on too fast.
That is exactly what happens with me.
Well, and I wonder where I got it from, but
Do you know
that's
what's
beside
interesting?
The point.
No, this is really interesting.
Yeah?
My mom, and I've shared this before on the podcast, my mom didn't like, well, okay, my mother is an amazing seamstress, sewist, whatever you call it now.
Seamstress.
But it's called a sewist now, I think. Anyway, just go with it. So, I mean, amazing. And would go into fabric stores quite a lot when I was younger. But it took me a little while to get into, hey, okay, and I want to make this, or I want to do this. And I've talked about some of this, but my mom would just get to a point and she'd be like, okay, done, we're leaving now. And I could never figure it out. And it was only much later that she finally was able to explain to me that she has a claustrophobic experience after a little while in fabric stores. Because not only does she
Creative
see...
claustrophobia?
Sort of. Not only does she see all of the fabrics, she starts seeing all of the things that could be done with all the fabrics and all the things she would like to make with all the fabrics. And then she starts seeing all of the time and energy and everything that would be required to make that. And she starts feeling pressured and overwhelmed and everything, and that's when the claustrophobia sets in, and that's when we had to leave. She probably, if she was a yarning person, if this was all fabric, if it was a comparable situation with fabric,
if it was as many yards of fabric as there are of yarn,
yeah, it probably would not be a happy place for her.
it also wouldn't be a happy place for you because it would literally fill your office.
But what's interesting is I don't get that claustrophobia experience. I don't feel that, and I know some people would. I know some people have shared even that they couldn't have a space like this where it is all full of yarn all the time because their stash would overwhelm them. and make it not fun to be around. But I don't end up having that experience. I have, oh, I could do those and those socks. Oh, that's amazing. And I could do these and these. And it's almost as if I have the yarn, I have the project.
I think you have a better imagination than your mother.
Because I know that I could do it. And it's just, do I want that more than I want this right now? And right now, I want to design. I want to have the space for designing and for all of those things more than I want these other projects that I had planned out with that yarn. Does that make sense?
It becomes a matter. You derive just as much happiness from looking at the yarn and visualizing the project as you do from the final object.
Yes.
But the point at which it becomes you making the project is when you realize that you need to have that in your life always.
Yes.
And so when you realize I need to have this level of joy with me and I don't want to have to visualize it every time,
yeah,
then you make the project.
I actually want to physically have that project, or I need it, or I needed a sweater or whatever.
Right.
Then
I mean, and there are other reasons, but I think that's the main one.
Yeah. Yeah. This doesn't, I mean, I can look at all these wonderful things and go, and I can look at all these wonderful things and all of these, like this. I mean, yes, the plan is to turn it into a fade. But if the plan changes in June and something changes, and I just look at this and go, oh, yes, there's a fade right here. That's okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right up until I need the fade to exist physically, so I have it in that form and that representation. And it's worth the time and effort to pull it into that manifestation.
Yep.
Right? Is that what you were saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have any other thoughts about this? I don't know that we came to any conclusions. What was our original topic?
You're designing.
Oh. My designing and how it's changed my knitting?
Yeah, designer.
So, what are my final topics? Do I have any other thoughts? I really like designing now. It's fun. It takes up a different space, and it needs more space. It needs more space than I thought it did.
It needs more space because when you design, you work not from what you have to what you want, but from what you want the other way. And the other way is a much bigger tree.
What?
So...
A much bigger tree, what do you mean?
Right, so when you have what you have, like, you have all of this yarn, right?
Yeah.
And for a fade, you need how many skeins?
7.
7 skeins. So, picking 7 skeins out of all of this yarn is a much smaller task than coming up with an idea, a shape in your head, and then taking that shape and exploring it to its fullest extent to refine its shape.
That was too abstract.
Well, that's the inside of my head, so.
Try again.
It's like...
You said it's a much bigger tree.
Yeah, so when you start with something you want, I mean, that starts anywhere. It's like, instead of picking out of all of your yarn, you're picking out of all the yarn that exists. Except it's actually even bigger than that, because, you know.
I lost you again.
Okay, you're picking something that you... An inspiration comes from a much bigger pool of possible inspirations than a skein of yarn comes from a pool of possible skeins of yarn.
Maybe I've lost the point you're talking about. But I'm really lost right now. I mean, I love all of the things you're saying are like, okay, that's cool. But I don't know what it means.
What it means is that it takes more space because it's bigger. So there. That's...
I don't understand.
Nope, I give up.
Okay. I just said that designing takes more space.
Yeah.
For me.
Right.
So I can't have as many projects. I can't have as many working projects competing for... I can't have as many working projects competing for focus and time.
You know that, I mean, it's... there was a study a while back that proved that a person can only keep track of about 120 individuals in their head. Like, you can only keep track of 120 people's lives. And then, if you meet people later, then you just kind of...
So the
someone
old thing
somewhat
about...
along the line gets left off. Right? And so, what's really interesting is, I think, in my experience, people who are bad with names have too many friends.
What do you mean? I'm bad with names.
I rest my case.
I'm horrible with names.
Same. But that's the point. It's because when you meet someone new, there's no more space in your 120 person queue. And so you have to bump someone. And you have to know this person well enough for your brain to decide, oh, okay, it's okay to bump that person. And so it takes more time for you to learn their name and to internalize them as a person.
So are people that are really, really good with names just really okay with bumping people?
No. I
think
would,
that's it.
I would guess. I would
think
guess
that's it. I think they just bump people
who are
really
good
easily.
at names don't make as many friends. They don't keep track of as many people. Because they don't see a need to, because they haven't learned to.
Yeah,
they
that's
just
what I mean.
don't keep track of people.
They don't keep track of people, so people get bumped all the time. So they can keep track of a name. They can remember names.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, all right, somebody's gone. I need to remember this person now.
I think the people who are really good with names just keep
This
space.
This is a bad tangent.
Because what if there's someone who's watching who's really good with names?
We're bad with names.
Well, no, bad with names is okay because, you know, they get a lot. They have a lot of friends.
Okay, so where were we before we went into the people thing?
Australia.
Oh yes, Australia. So it takes up more space. That's where we were.
Yeah, so there's a
space
theory
for
that
me.
you can only take 120 people, but I
don't know what that means.
There's only so much space in your head for knitting, and projects take up some of that space. You have to keep track of them. You have to think about them. You have to,
even though they're not.
So okay, this is how it works in your brain. Little cycles of neurons form. And those cycles of neurons are for tasks that you're doing, people that you're keeping track of, projects that you're knitting, stuff like that, right? So there's certain parts of your brain that have neurons for this category of things, and there's certain parts of your brain that have neurons for this category of things. And you don't have enough neurons, which is why if we had bigger brains...
used them all up.
Hey, that is not my fault. I just came last. In fact, I came first. It was their fault.
Nobody will understand that.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, you guys used up all my neurons. All right, so it just takes up too much space in my brain. I mean, it takes up more space than I anticipated it would need, I guess. So I'm finding myself, needing some more space. And so I'm okay with frogging those projects and only bringing them back when I'm ready to work on them, so that they're not, it's because I want design projects in my queue. I want design projects in my mental queue, not already decided on projects.
Yeah.
I want things I'm inventing and creating to go into my mental queue.
Because you're an architect.
I'm trying on my sock. Okay. That's what I keep trying to do, and you keep opening it up. So it takes more space in my brain than I thought it was going to need. So I need to get rid of some of the other things. I need to frog some of the other things that were just sitting there, which was fine, because I want more space in my design queue.
Yep. So, that's about it for our conversation this week.
I think so. We have questions for our viewers.
What questions do we have for our viewers?
Has your knitting changed over time? Why are you looking at me that way? What is the purpose of your face?
I mean, that's...
What?
I don't want to say it's a lame question, but it's a lame
It seems
question.
like yes, it would. But that leads right into the next question of how has your knitting changed?
Right, why don't we just ask the first question? Because the second question, because the first question is kind of...
So...
obvious.
This next question, would you like your knitting to change? And then, how would you like your knitting to change?
Okay.
If you have a direction. Do you have any other questions for our viewers?
Mm-hmm. Did you understand what I was saying?
Yeah. Then you don't get to criticize my questions.
I have a perfectly valid question.
All right. Anything else on this topic? Knitting stuff changes over time. Different things take priority.
Just like position.
And different seasons in our life have different knitting things. I'm ignoring that. So. All right. So now it's time for questions from our viewers. So, now we have questions from our viewers.
Yes, okay, so our questions from our viewers.
Ruth Rabbit
asked, how do you tension your yarn? Is there a right or better way? I notice you both do it differently. Tensioning is something I would like to improve.
Okay.
So.
Go first.
Okay. So, I tension my yarn like this. I just kind of run it over a finger and then I grab it like this. And when I tension it, I press my thumb and I just kind of pinch it here, and then I can hold it tight, but otherwise I just kind of let it run. And the reason I do that is because I only tension my yarn when I'm finishing a stitch. So when I've gone through, I've inserted the needle first, I wrap it around, and then when I'm doing this, I keep tension on it, and then I just kind of snug it into place. I make sure it looks right, and then I move on to the next stitch.
Okay, and we should also mention you are an English knitter.
Oh, yeah. Because if they're looking at the podcast, they'll see it the other way.
I am a continental knitter. So, what I do, and I probably do this all the time without even thinking about it. You guys have seen it. But I take my yarn here, and it goes between my first and second finger, and then around between my next two, then back up over my index finger. And this just allows me to stop yarn from going through if I want to. I have done it over the top, and I can kind of do it that way. It's a little looser. I tried that for a while, but I just kind of like this. It just seems to be, if I go like this, then I have to kind of grab and think about it more. If I go all the way around and then here, all I have to do is move my hand a little bit to stop it, to stop yarn from coming through, so that I can keep the stitches the size I want.
Yep.
So that's how I do it. I also knit English when I'm doing double knitting, so I can knit both ways. Mine just kind of flows through, so I just pick. Yeah, I'm
She's
showing
found
you, so I
just
can't
the
do
right
it.
hand configuration that it keeps just the right amount of tension for her.
Yeah.
So play around. If you're an English knitter, continental knitter, just play around with different wraps around your fingers until you find one that
Or just
puts just the right amount of
Elizabeth
friction.
Zimmerman is very like, why do you need to do that? And keeps it perfectly fine and just going once over
that
your
seems
index
painful.
finger.
That seems.
But then
unfortunate.
I end up trying to catch it.
Right. You end up doing that when you want to take
Trying to
tension back
hold it.
out.
When I want to try.
See,
when I want to take slack back out.
Right.
And
I do it.
tension
I do
up.
it this way because if I need to, I can do this. I have it held between my thumb and middle finger, and I can just I can change by pulling it down. I can change how much I have there until I need more, and then that works.
So yeah, we both
I haven't always done it that way. I used to just hold it like this and then wrap it around, but I find that this is a lot faster.
You're starting to be a little bit of a flicker. Go ahead.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I just don't approve of the name.
Oh, what do you think it should be?
English knitting? The right way?
So we apparently have specific views about that. Okay. So, she has another question.
Yes.
Ruth Rabbit had another question.
Is it possible to be a minimalist and a crafter? Or a minimalist crafter?
You go first.
Yes.
Okay. How?
Takes a lot more work.
Because?
Because you have to... I would say you have to be... As
You
a crafter...
have to do more of the work in your head?
Wait, no. As a crafter, I find that I take inspiration from everywhere, and I like to surround myself with inspiration. And I think that is, at its core, what most stashes are. And so I think to be a minimalist crafter, you have to, A, find a good source of inspiration that doesn't belong to you. Or B, you have to think very carefully about surrounding yourself with inspiring things. And
choose your inspiring things so that it inspires you in multiple ways, or that you... I think it means you do more work in your head, or you put yourself in different environments. I think it's possible. I also think it's possible to be minimalist and a crafter. I do.
What I would guess is that as a minimalist... That was not a word. As a minimalist and a crafter, you would end up with a lot more of the same things.
I disagree. And this is what I would say. I would say that I think you can personally, someone could personally be a minimalist and a crafter. But I think they would kind of count on access to non-minimalist environments. For instance, Joann's or Michael's or
Yarn Shop.
yarn shops or
Oh,
or other places that have an abundance of whatever item they need. So they would
Right.
have to do a lot in their head and in
one
their
second.
imagination.
Another, just a caveat to what I've said. I might have mistakenly interpreted this as, could I be a minimalist crafter? Because I have trouble thinking through other people's situation unless I really try. And I didn't just now, so that's what I would need.
Oh, you would need to have super inspiration.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
otherwise I would find it hard
Well,
to be motivated to
You
do
kind
anything.
of are not completely a minimalist, but a little bit of a minimalist as a crafter, but you count on my abundance. Both for inspiration
but
and for some access.
That's not my main source of crafting and creating.
No.
In fact, my main source of crafting and creating for a long time was Space Engineers. And if you look, I always drew my inspiration from space movies. And there's quite a lot of that inspiration lying around.
That's where I was heading. So, what I was saying is that someone could be a minimalist and a crafter, but they would kind of need to count on other people or other spaces to have inspiration. Either, I mean, I'm thinking like museums or forests. Or, you know, they would have to go places or do things or have access to supply environments and then choose in a minimalist way, not in a find my fade way.
Just buy all the things and something will happen.
Exactly. They would
Throw it at the wall and see
they
what
would-
sticks.
Exactly. They would need to have I think somebody who is being a minimalist would have to be more specific. More in line with, like, construction, where you design it and there's still costs of materials, and so you don't just get all of the countertops and then decide which one.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of count on...
I feel like...
wait, just a second. You kind of count on a countertop store that has all of the countertops on display, so you can choose which one you want. Does that make sense?
So, I feel like being a minimalist crafter would be being a little bit like your mom. Because you have to constantly balance what you can have against what you could make.
do. Okay.
And I feel like that would lead to some unfortunate...
My mom, I think she might have gotten over some of that because she has a lot more now. So. Anyway. When she told me that, that was kind of a long time ago too. So she might have gotten over it, but it's an interesting phenomenon because I've had some people. So yes, in answer to your question, Ruth Rabbit, before we go into another digression, in answer to your question, yes, we do think you can be a minimalist and a crafter. But it might be an interesting scenario.
Yep. So,
I think that's it. We've come to the end of our show.
It. Until next time,
Until next time.
have a colorful life.